Welcome back, folks, to the Lighthead Online Video Show. This episode of the show is brought to you by the Big Easy. Keystone Technologies. Go to KEYSTONETECH.com.
Keystone's area lights now have optic swap technology. Unfastening and refastening a clasp, no tools required, and you can change it from Type 3, Type 4, Type 5 just by a new optic swap
Yeah,
from the
fixtures need to be
XFIT
field
area.
addressable. They need to be field addressable. I love that Keystone is taking the lead on that. Good for them. KEYSTONETECH.com. The Big Easy. You're a guy, you don't like to waste time, right?
Yeah, that's all you got at the end of the day is time.
And, one of the things I know about you is that you particularly hate it when you have to do something that you shouldn't have to do.
Rigmarole.
Yeah, like the battery's out of my truck. Who made this stupid battery? Like why is my
Get a new
battery
truck.
out? Yeah, come on, get this thing out of here,
Right.
right? You know what I mean? Like what happened? Like there's not that annoys you the most, right? And
hmm
what I want to talk to you about is there's one factor that nobody's considering with all these burned out LED lights everywhere. Okay, it's a waste of time. Okay, and so
Yes.
we have a limited amount of electrical labor in the world. That's a limited number. It's not unlimited. Okay. And as we create these kinds of systems that fail so quickly, and have to be replaced so quickly. So, people used to amortize light fixtures over 25, 30 years. Assuming they're
Right.
still doing it, assuming that the fixture is repairable. Talk to an accountant. They're going to amortize it over 15, 20 years, something like that. That's the life of that capital investment. And now
Yep.
people are talking about lighting as a service simply because the fixtures can't be repaired easily and simply. And so Greg, what a waste of our electrical labor. What a tragic waste. This is going to drive
And
up the cost of electrical labor for no stupid reason.
well, and a waste of the reason you did the project to begin with, right? The energy savings that you're incurring now could be washed out by the amount you have to spend in extra labor to continue to maintain and replace what burns out, because it will burn out, and you're going to have to go brand new right now. So,
Not
is that
one person in the sustainability field, even the nailed letter, did not address the productivity losses from all this. It's a productivity loss. The government always talks about productivity, right?
yeah,
Productivity,
yep,
right? So
yep,
in the way they measure productivity, they may measure this as a productivity increase. Look how great! We're doing great, but really, it's a complete waste of electrical labor. It's ridiculous. You're going to have these linesmen going around to poles and readdressing poles every 3 to 5, 7 years at the most to take out these purple lights everywhere. What a waste of time and money.
oh, and to figure it out too. That's the most difficult part a lot of times with LED is figuring out what you need to do. And in a purpose-built fixture right now, it's typically replace the whole thing, but maybe you could replace the driver. But then how do you figure out the driver? And I know we've beat this one to death to some degree, but that's a problem. I mean, and to your point, yes, that's something that's not factored in at all. Is the additional labor that is going to come from it, and the additional cost and waste of time on all this.
Waste of time. And the other issue that nobody thinks about is that what are you talking about the driver? It's almost never the driver. Okay? Like,
Right.
I don't know what these people are talking about. Like, what are you talking about? It's never the driver that's failing on these things. I get them back here, I plug the driver in, the driver works fine. It's the
Mhm.
LEDs that failed. Oh, I thought the LEDs last for. Well, actually, it turns out, hey, it started off as a boring podcast and Get a Grip on Lighting, but that chemical podcast revealed a lot to me, right? What
It
was
did.
the word they used? I wrote it down. What was the damn word they used? And they don't fail, they,
Decompose.
they decompose.
hmm
These LED fixtures are decomposing chemically due to heat and weather conditions.
Right.
They decompose. Their inorganic chemistry that creates them decomposes over time.
And
Never
it
heard
could be
that
a
before.
variety. Yeah, and it could be a variety of the thing we broke down in that podcast. We broke down the components. It could be the LED chip itself. It could be the phosphor that goes on. It could be the solder. That was an interesting one. Is the connections and the soldering that can break
I
down.
don't, you know what?
That breakdown.
God love that guy. He's wrong about that. I don't believe
About
it's
the
the
soldering?
solder. Yeah, solder. I don't think the
I don't
solder's the
know.
problem.
I think if you lose a connection in the soldering, then yeah, the light could not
Oh,
work.
that's a point of failure, but that's not why they're failing. The lights are still on. They're purple though,
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah.
right?
That's
There's no
fine.
solder problems. There's no driver problem,
Mhm.
right? You know what? It's like, well, technically the LED hasn't failed. It's because listen, when a consumer buys an LED, they're not make differentiating in the inorganic chemistry, guys.
Right.
Like they're not different. Oh well, technically the LED still is good. Actually, it's a solid state device. It can't fail. Well, all the stuff that makes it into light fails. And I had an organic chemist come and tell me it's decomposing. The epoxy with the phosphor and the indica buckada bingity boo. Ching chong chong chong. You know, whatever the heck you're talking about. All these terms, right? And it's like, okay, so it's falling apart. Yeah, but the LED's still good. What are you talking about? Like, that doesn't make any, like, I'm not saying he said that, but to me, that
Right.
makes no sense at all. And this is a complete productivity waste of time and energy. And they can all be found on an accreditation agency's website. That's where everyone picked the qualified product, right? Keep it easy. Get over to KeystoneTech.com. That's KEYSTONETECH.com. Late made easy.